Hello, my name is Katarzyna Biesialska and today I would like to present our work Mining Dependencies in Large-Scale Agile Software Development Projects, a Quantitative Industry Study. Here is an outline of my presentation. First, I will introduce the context of our study and the problem statement, followed by the description of main objectives and research questions that we try to answer in our work. Next, I will present main outcomes of the study and conclude with the key takeaways, and I will introduce future research directions worth exploring. We performed our study in cooperation with CA Technologies. For brevity, I will use just CA as the name of the company. After the acquisition of the company, it is now known as a Broadcom company. CA is a multinational corporation delivering enterprise software products. With acquisition of Rayleigh Software in 2015, the company is now a provider of Rayleigh Software, which is an agile project management software and one of the leading ALM tools on the market, according to the version 1's annual State of Agile survey. The software used to be known as CA Agile Centra in the past, and this name is also used in the version 1's report from the last year, as shown in the tag cloud, where the size of the software tool name indicates its popularity. Not only customers of CA use agile-driven projects and use Rayleigh to manage their projects, but also the software company, CA. Its developers and other agile team members use Rayleigh to manage their agile projects, and they follow agile methodology, a large-scale one called SAFe. The company has a considerable experience with scaling agile inside and outside the organization. Overall, CA has supported hundreds of enterprises during their large-scale organization transformations. In our study, we focus on managing requirement dependencies that in agile software development come in the form of user stories. User stories are the primary artifact through which software requirements are communicated within agile software development teams. In principle, Agile enforces no dependencies between user stories. Teams should be able to schedule them in an arbitrary order because dependencies are independent items by default. However, in reality, this constraint not always holds. So user stories should have no overlapping scope, yet often this is not the case. It is noteworthy that dependencies that remain unmanaged, be it misidentified or ignored, can generate significant delays due to hindered progress, or be even a source of serious software and system failures. The difficulty of introducing agile methods increases with the organization size. Large organizations have more dependencies between projects and teams than small organizations. Therefore, coordination in large-scale software development is critical yet difficult due to dependencies, making management and communication of dependencies between teams a major challenge at scale. The main motivation behind our study was to conduct empirical research in an industrial setting using large-scale agile projects, industrial dataset with real-world projects and software development teams. Moreover, our goal was to shed light on an important problem of management of requirement dependencies in a large organization running projects according to a large-scale agile methodology, in this case, SAFe. I will now present the main objectives of our work and research methodology that we employed. Our study is an empirical evaluation on a large real-world data set from an agile software organization. The company is a provider of a leading software for agile project management, and this is a quantitative type of study. Namely, we support our exploratory case study only with quantitative data. We use the goal question metrics to define the goal and objectives of our study. The objectives are twofold, so analyzing the decisions of large-scale agile teams regarding declaration of dependencies, and we also aimed to understand how dependencies are detected, how they affect the projects. We formed the objectives in three research questions. The first one is related to understanding at what stage of an iteration dependencies are identified by teams. So we try to shed light on how teams how often they declare dependencies and when does it happen. The second question is related to the characteristics of teams. In this research question, we aim to understand how teams in a large-scale agile organization cope with dependencies. Does the team size, composition, or distribution play a role? What is the ratio of internal to external team dependencies is also of our interest. And the last research question is related to insights on the timeliness of the dependency resolution and coordination within teams. We investigate if there is a relationship between the stage of a user story and the type of a dependency that is being closed. We mined the usage data of the Agile Lifecycle Management tool to extract large-scale development project data from more than 70 teams running over a 5-year period. All selected projects were related to IT, however they covered various domains, some related to development of software products, while others devoted to IT support or maintenance activities. The selected projects involved users in different roles such as architects, developers, product owners, or testers, among others. Those users were located in 7 distinct locations on 3 different continents. We used a REST API provided by Rayleigh to retrieve historical data. We also leverage another type of REST API provided by the company. The data collected through this interface included the revision history of user stories as well as snapshots of those work items. Snapshots provided us with information on the state of the artifact at the time when it was changed. We also used the company's internal database to enrich our dataset with historical information, such as the project hierarchy or user data. It is important to mention that the predecessor-successor relationship is the only type of dependency that is applicable in the ALM tool that we studied in our work. The dependency imposes a relatively strict rule and the order of when the activities are handled by teams. Now let us discuss the results of our study. Only 10% of analyzed user stories had a dependent user story. Most user stories with dependencies have only one dependent user story. Having over 2 predecessors or successors for a user story is very rare. In our dataset, the maximum number of predecessors for one user story was 11, while for successors it was 18. The total number of created dependencies was considerably higher than the number of removed dependencies, as can be seen in the figure on the right-hand side. In general, dependencies were created and removed between the same day and up to 200 days after the creation of a user story. Interestingly, a quarter of dependencies was created within 2 days after the creation of a user story in which they were indicated. The creation and removal of dependencies should not only be considered with regard to the duration, so time-wise, but also with regard to stage to which the user story is assigned to. There are in principle 6 different states of a user story scheduled in an iteration or release in Rayleigh. That is idea, so this is the first state when the business requirements are gathered and no development starts at this stage. Next, we have the defined stage. In this stage, a user story is in the team's backlog, but its development hasn't started yet. Followed by the in-progress stage, a first active working state for a user story where actual development starts, followed by the completed stage where the development team and testing have been finished and the work is waiting for a product owner to verify. Accepted is the stage that indicates that the user story has met the acceptance criteria, and the release stage, the last one, the user story is released at this stage. So basically, teams identify dependencies usually in the idea, defined, or in progress stages, so the 3 initial states as shown in the stacked bar chart on the right-hand side. On the y-axis, we see the number of dependencies, while on the x-axis, declared and removed dependencies are grouped into 6 different stages, which I just mentioned. Our data analysis suggests that predecessors are added in the earlier stages than successors. 82% predecessors are added in the first 2 stages, while for successors this percentage is considerably lower. Yet, over 17% predecessors are added after the idea or defined stages. What does it tell us? We could interpret the predecessor declaration for a user story in the in-progress or later stages as delayed. The nature of such late declarations remains to be clarified and could be a stepping stone to uncovering hidden implicit dependencies. Predecessors are mostly removed in the defined and idea stages and to lesser extent in the in-progress stage. Team composition may differ from team to team, but the type of roles identifying dependencies is limited. Basically, it boils down to three roles such as product owners, scrum master, and developers. And these roles they cover over 64% of all declared dependencies. What is important is that the users identifying dependencies are one of the most active contributors to user stories with declared dependencies. It can be probably explained by the fact that these users are frequent contributors and possibly have the best understanding of the nature of work at hand. To summarize our presentation, let us now briefly focus on the 3 thematically grouped key takeaways and implication of our study. The large majority of user stories do not have declared dependencies, yet the volume of unidentified dependencies is unknown. It remains to be clarified. The declaration of dependencies is frequently made by people familiar with user stories and within the same project. Hence, it is very much needed to understand the knowledge sharing practices within safe teams, to understand if they ensure the scope of work is independent. And lastly, our study shows that ALM monitoring data turns out to be a promising data source. Thank you. I would like to encourage you to ask me some questions, or after the presentation, just please drop me an email. Thank you.